as I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days.
Okay.
So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40.
Okay.
This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lowdown Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brown, as always, and I do have a lot to cover today, and it's not good news. Well, I got some good news and bad news. I'm going to start off with the bad news. And you know what the bad news is? My Oklahoma City Thunder. Yep, you heard me. My Oklahoma City Thunder. They disappointed me by losing to the Houston Rockets in Game 7, 104-102. I really thought Oklahoma City had it in them. I mean, just about everybody did. I mean, there was a lot of predictions by so many experts out there, you know, big names in the sports media business predicting Oklahoma City to actually triumph over Houston. But guess what? It didn't happen. We had to wait for the game to happen. Oklahoma City had it. That was a very close game, and it just really boiled down to the last few minutes in the fourth quarter. And, boy, I tell you, James Harden had a bad game. He even admitted in the post-game presser saying that he played like, you know, the S word. I don't curse on my podcast, but, yeah, he played like crap, basically. That's basically what he said. And, yeah, it showed it. But at the same time, he still stepped up when it mattered. Now, that huge block, that pivotal block that he had over Lou Dort. And speaking of Lou Dort, huge shout out to Lou Dort, man. This guy came out undrafted, played in the D-League, and look what he's doing now, right? This guy made a huge difference in this game. He was definitely MVP of that game for sure. He had the most points. He had 30 points. He was actually the leading scorer out of both teams. He had the most points out of everyone. Who would have thought some guy coming out of the development league and undrafted rookie, what, like, that doesn't add up, right? It doesn't add up. Like, who does that? I mean, he set the Thunder rookie playoff scoring record in this Game 7 loss. Can you believe that? That's what Lou Dort did. He almost took James Harden's lunch money, but he didn't. James Harden, he said, you know what? This rookie's cooking me right now. I'm going to make sure, even though I had a bad game offensively, I'm going to be a team player. I'm going to shut this guy down when it matters. So Lou Dort had a chance to really win the game by shooting a three, right? Because he was actually 4 for 6 at one point in the game, just going off. I don't know where the three-point shooting came from, but that guy was confident. He was lighting it up. And Harden said, no, sir, blocked the shot, and he was able to get his own rebound after blocking it. Well, I mean, he was able to retrieve the ball. I don't know if that was rebound, but he was able to retrieve his own block, and he attempted to throw the ball on somewhere on Harden's body so it can, you know, bounce off of him and go out of bounds so it can still be Thunder ball, because there was only like 3 seconds left on the clock. And it didn't happen. Harden used his spidey sense, jumped over it, and that was pretty much – I thought it was it after that, but there were so many timeout calls. And it was just a bunch of chaos within the last few seconds of the game, and I really thought Oklahoma City had it in them. And then Danilo Gallinari missed the crucial free throw over that technical foul that happened. So it was just a lot of chaos. Like, that game was really heartbreaking for me. But at the same time, I'm really proud of my team. I'm really proud of Oklahoma City. I'm proud of the way they put up a fight against the Houston Rockets, because Houston was obviously the favorite in winning this series. It wasn't even supposed to be close, as a matter of fact. I'm surprised that Oklahoma City even put up a Game 7 against these guys and played them close. So that tells you something. Oklahoma City has a bright future ahead of them. They have so many first-round picks. The 2020s decade is going to be nice to them. So huge shout-out to Sam Presti for being the GOAT, and huge shout-out to Billy Donovan for being a great coach. This guy not only being a great coach, but huge shout-out to Chris Paul as well. I mean, shoot, nobody even thought, nobody thought Chris Paul would even play a game in an Oklahoma City jersey. I mean, he did get traded, he did get traded because, obviously, Russell Westbrook joined Houston last summer. Remember all that chaos in the NBA free agency? Well, guess what? It feels like a decade ago. I mean, technically, it kind of was a decade ago, but feels like it was actually 10 years ago because of all the events that happened in 2020 alone. And Chris Paul is a true leader. And this guy is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is year 15 for him in the league. And he was able to lead a young Oklahoma City Thunder team not only to the playoffs, but the 5th seed. And I don't know, for you NBA fans out there, I don't know if you remember this, but back in October, during the very beginning of the season, Oklahoma City only had a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs. And look what they did. They had 48 wins. Who would have thought, right? So again, huge shout out to Sam Presti, Billy Donovan, Chris Paul, Steven Adams, and the rest of the team. I enjoyed it. That game, oh my goodness, you don't understand. I was on my feet the whole time. I was nervous. I was sweating. I felt like I was in the game playing myself. That's how much the Thunder mean to me. They've been my favorite team since they first became a team in 2008. And so for the past 12 years, the Thunder there was a lot of ups and downs. More downs than ups, obviously. I mean, and I guess if this counts, I mean, it does count, technically. This is the 4th first-round exit for Oklahoma City. Now, this one was a little bit different. Oklahoma City played up much better. Actually, you know what's crazy? Oklahoma City, with Chris Paul and this young supporting cast, played much better in this playoff series than they've had with Westbrook, Melo at one point, Paul George, all those guys. Even Kevin Durant, for crying out loud. So during the 2013-2014 season, Oklahoma City wasn't even in the playoffs. And they had KD and Russ. As a matter of fact check, the year after that. So it was the 2014-2015 season where they didn't make the playoffs. My mistake, because during Durant's MVP season, they made the playoffs, but only to lose to the Grizzlies. But that's a different story. But as far as 2016, the present day, pure disappointment, okay? So it all started off, everybody knows about this. Oklahoma City made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, had a 3-1 lead over the Golden State Warriors, and blew it and lost, right? And Golden State had suffered the same fate in the finals against the Cavs. But that's when a lot of things started to change for Oklahoma City, because if you really think about it, Kevin Durant was the first one to go. He decides to leave, go to Golden State. A lot of backlash. I'll never forget that moment in 2017, or not 2017, 2016, after they lost, after the finals were over during July. So around July 4th, Durant's like, I'm leaving. I'm going to Golden State. And Oklahoma City hasn't been the same ever since. And not just because Durant left, but just a bunch of chaos, man. Billy Donovan stuck through it all. And Sam Presti did too. Took note of that. Made an investment with Chris Paul and these young guys, and especially Lou Dort, man. That guy has been phenomenal, especially in this playoff series. Again, I'm happy. Even though they lost, I'm sad that they lost. I'm recording this at 1 a.m. on September 3rd, 2020. I'm still sad about the loss. I haven't even checked Twitter. I have not even looked at Twitter since the game, because I know for a fact it's going to be a lot. Like, I'm from the Houston area. I'm from Katy, Texas, mainly. Went to Seven Lakes High School. So the majority of the people I follow are from that area. And now I follow a lot of people professionally now, since I'm in the professional world. But even in college, a lot of people from the Houston area, several Rockets fans, and I just don't want to hear it. You know, I don't want to see it. I'd rather wait for this to blow off. I mean, luckily Twitter refreshes every other second, so I'm going to let these Rockets fans get their 2-3 seconds of fame, whether they go viral, tweeting stuff. I'm going to let them have their fun. You know why? Because they won. They deserve every right to be happy right now. But you know me, I'm not a Rockets fan at all. I can't stand them, and I can't stand any Houston professional sports team. So for those of you that have known me since day one, so for you to, I mean, from, I don't know, pre-kinder all the way to present day, you know, obviously I ran into a lot of people since then. For those of you who have known me over these past few years, even recently, even my own coworkers, for crying out. I got a coworker, shout out to Ryan Reynolds, by the way. He's not the actor, but, you know, the weekend sports anchor / reporter for KLST TV out here in San Angelo, Texas. He's from the Houston area, League City to be exact. Die-hard Houstonian and everything. He's born and raised in Houston. You know, loves every Houston professional sports team. But hey, man, so if you're listening to this, I congratulate y'all, man. Y'all, at the very end of the game, you guys played hard when it mattered, even though it was very sloppy. You still won. And now you guys got to take on the Lakers next. So, again, Houston fans, you have every right to be happy. I'm going to be bitter, but I'm going to cry a little bit. I might not, but hey, good news is you can't see my face right now, and I can't feel my face just like the weekend. And I wanted to say this. I should have said this at the beginning, but I'm going to say it right now. You fail me yet again, OKC. Similar to what Megatron said to Starscream over and over and over again in the Transformers cartoon series back in the 80s, and even on Transformers, the movie series, within the past 13 years, right? You failed me yet again, Starscream. Get them. Yeah, that's how I feel about Oklahoma City. But again, Oklahoma City's young. I can't really just bash them that much because it's a brand new Oklahoma City roster. And lots of first-round picks ahead of them. So, but as far as the future for Chris Paul, we'll see. I feel like it'll be a good idea that they can build on him. Really, think about it. Who would want if you're up and coming, right? Say because obviously they're going to get first-round picks. It's coming. Whether you like it or not, it is coming. So, say Chris Paul stays, right? And say these first-round picks come in from college. Heck yeah, if I was in that situation, man, I want to play. A legendary figure like Chris Paul? Think about it. One of the best point guards of all time? Yeah, I would want to play with that guy. You see, and his leadership showed with just this season alone. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit him in Houston or in New Orleans, but I'm talking about present day. And if you watch basketball this past season, Chris Paul might have played the best basketball in his career. Now, that might sound crazy, but in this playoff run, that was probably or arguably the best playoff run he's ever had in his career. And, I mean, even though it was cut short in the first round, this man was balling out. So, hopefully him and James Harden get along again. I know James Harden said some good things about him in the post-game conference. But, again, he was being a fair sport. But at the same time, I'm happy for Russell Westbrook. I mean, Russell Westbrook, this is actually the first time he's advanced past the first round since 2016, to be exact. 17, 18, 19, first round exits. And they were all ugly, especially 2019. So for you Thunder fans out there and NBA fans as a whole, everybody remembers the shot by Damian Lillard, right? The so-called bad shot that referred by Paul George, right? So, again, Russell Westbrook, I still love you, man. I'm a big fan of you. Even though you're playing for the team I dislike the most in the NBA, again, man, you deserve it. Go get this money. Now, I'm going to say this, though. I really don't think the Rockets, especially the way they played against Oklahoma City, I do not see them passing up the Lakers. I do not see it happening. I don't. And, a lot of people complain about Scott Foster, the referee. A lot of Rockets fans don't like that guy. They have a bad history with him. A lot of NBA fans in general have a bad history with the guy. So, I mean, based off of that, I don't know. I mean, obviously the small ball is working. It's effective right now for Houston. They were able to surpass Oklahoma City with the big Steven Adams that they got. But the real challenge is, can they get past AD? Can they get past the past prime Dwight Howard? Can they out-rebound these guys? Even LeBron, can they out-rebound him? So, but at the same time, Houston has an advantage by, now if James Harden plays the way that he does, if Russell Westbrook plays the way that he does, then this could be a series. But if they play the way they did against Oklahoma City, that's a sweep. That's an easy sweep for the LA Lakers, right? So, Mike D'Antoni, you better do some real soul searching, buddy. You really need to make sure your players are ready to go. And I don't know why your method is like to shoot threes. I get it. You guys are doing small ball, but the Lakers are a completely different opponent, have much more star power than Oklahoma City, have better players than Oklahoma City, a better team overall than Oklahoma City. I don't know how you're going to do it. So watch out like 2 Chainz, okay? Now, if I were to predict this series, I really think the Lakers will beat Houston in maybe 5 or 6 games. Maybe Houston get a couple games. If they get lucky, maybe they'll go to Game 7, but I really don't see that happening. I see the Lakers winning it in 5 or 6 games. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. Now, excuse me. Moving to the East side, I don't know if you guys were watching, but the Heat and the Bucks, that series is out of control. The Heat are currently up 2-0 over the first seed Milwaukee Bucks. What is going on here? I saw a lot of slander on Twitter earlier about Giannis. People were saying, is that your real MVP? The guy's not showing it. Again, the Bucks haven't really looked the same in the bubble. I don't know what's going on. The way they were playing prior to COVID, it looked like they were, dominant, a dominant force. And then you come to the bubble and they seem vulnerable. A lot of dominant teams seem pretty vulnerable. Even the Lakers did at one point. So did the Clippers against the Mavs. So just like Caron Butler said when I interviewed him a few weeks back, in the bubble, there's no home court advantage. You don't have any fans. You have virtual fans. So it could be anybody's game. That's probably why Oklahoma City played Houston so well. Because if things were normal and say Oklahoma City played Houston, I don't see it happening. I don't see – if you look at the regular season, though, Oklahoma City did play them pretty tough. But, it's really hard for me to compare regular season matchups to the playoffs because Oklahoma City has a bad history with that. The prime example was last season with the Portland Trailblazers. They had a regular season sweep over them last season, only to get cooked 4-1 in the playoffs. Okay, so it doesn't really mean anything. So I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation. 2020 is just weird in general. I mean, a lot of bad things have happened. There's a lot of good things that are happening too, but it seems like the bad is outweighing the good from just, there's no need for me to get into it. You guys know what I'm talking about, but I'll just leave it there. This is a sports podcast, not politics, not, about worldly news or anything like that. Although I'm a news reporter, this is a sports podcast. I know I've spoke about news a few times here and there on here, but this is specifically 99.9% sports generated or centric. There you go. So, again, it's just weird how the Bucks are not playing well. It's like, Chris Middleton, Giannis, all those guys. Like, I don't know what's going on, but Jimmy Butler, it seems like ever since he came into the bubble, this guy's been on a mission. He's been on a mission ever since he left Philly, ever since he left Chicago. This guy's been on a mission. And him going to Miami, he seems like he's not letting back. He's not holding back. He had a 40-point game in game 1. In game 2, he still went off. And Bam Adebayo really stepped up this year, had his first year All-Star appearance. So the Heat look solid. They look solid. Now, Milwaukee, you got to step it up. You're down 2-0. Like, can you pull Oklahoma City, win 2 straight, tie it 2-2, maybe force a game 7 or something like that? You guys better step it up now. Now's the time. If you go down 3-0, your chances of winning that series are very, very slim to impossible. And the way that you guys have been playing, I don't see it happening. But I'm still going to have to go with the Bucks for now. I feel like the Bucks are going to put up a fight because Giannis is going to wake up. These guys, Giannis is up for MVP. I don't like to slander the guy. I'm actually a fan of Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, most of the time, people who don't like him are Houston fans because you know why? James Harden. That's why. There you go. But I see the Bucks winning Game 3, probably Game 4. I see them, stepping up a bit. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. And the Nuggets and the Clippers are coming up. I really think LA is going to win Game 1. Now, Denver put up a run. They had a 3-1 deficit against Utah, and look what happened. Those guys won 4 straight. So huge props to them for coming back and taking out Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Yeah, that was a really good series too. Now, the Nuggets and Jazz and OKC and Houston, that was some good series right there. Really, really good. Dallas would have been the same way if they were healthy, but they weren't, unfortunately. And Portland, I don't know. I'm just going to leave that elsewhere. So that's pretty much all I had to talk about for basketball. Again, like I said, Oklahoma City really upset me. But at the same time, they do have a bright future, so don't sleep on them now. This is only the beginning. All right, so moving on to the next topic. So I believe this happened because I remember seeing the notification. So this happened around maybe in between the game of the Heat and the Bucks, or maybe during it had to be around that time. Okay, let's say it was around that time. Some NFL news. So Leonard Fournette is now officially a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. And you know what that means? He's on the same team as, what's that guy's name? Tom Brady. He's on the same team as, what's that guy's name? Rob Gronkowski. He's on the same team as, who else? Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard, Mike Evans, Ronald Jones II. That offense sounds nasty, right? But the season hasn't started yet. I don't want to get my hopes up because, freezing cold takes is out there like the virus, and they can easily shut you down. But at the same time, I'm pretty confident in Tampa Bay. I feel like they can do something with this. The NFC South alone is arguably the most competitive division in the NFL. So I'm looking forward to it. Leonard Fournette, a huge grab for Tampa Bay. And I know he is eager to get started because Jacksonville, he was in and out of injuries. Jacksonville's just not really a good team at all. And the fact that he's joined Tampa Bay with these All-Stars, we'll see. Because Leonard Fournette's a big guy, nearly the same size as Derrick Henry, just a couple inches shorter, but weighs about the same, probably the same strength, roughly the same speed. It's pretty close between the two. So that's going to be a nasty backfield between him and Ronald Jones II. I can't wait to see how that goes. And as far as the NFL in general, I know there's going to be 17 games. That's another weird thing. There's a lot of confusion between the NFL and college football. Because the NFL, obviously, it's professional sports. These athletes are getting paid millions of dollars. They're public figures. And it's a business. Now, college, these guys are amateur athletes considered, right? So they're not getting paid like they are in the NFL. So college football, those players need to take heed to what they hear and listen to the rules. I mean, they do have platforms. They've been utilizing it. I appreciate these big-time players, as in, Chuba Hubbard and these other players that stood up for what was right during, police brutality, acts of police brutality and social injustice and systemic racism in America. So I appreciate them standing up for themselves and addressing all this information that needs to be discussed. But again, this is not a political podcast. I'm just going to, generalize it. And it's just weird. So we already know that there's Power 5 conferences, as in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, that are not playing. Now, there's been discussion with Donald Trump about the Big Ten potentially starting in October, but I highly doubt that. I mean, that is completely absurd, in my opinion. Why the heck would you wait this out while the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, the Sun Belt, and these other conferences, why would you wait this out and see these guys play only to jump in halfway through the season? That's stupid. That's really stupid. I mean, I just think the entire college football just format this year is just ridiculous. But at the same time, huge shout out to my, alma mater, Texas State. You know why? Because on opening day, they're playing against the SMU Mustangs on ESPN. See, I find that pretty ironic. How ironic is it to see that a school like Texas State will be playing on ESPN because of COVID? So COVID has done good, obviously it's done mostly bad, but it's also done good. It's done good for Texas State because they're going to be playing prime time. I like that. I like the sound of that. So you already know I'm going to be watching that game. I'm going to watch Jake Spavital and those guys battle out with the Mustangs. It should be a pretty good matchup. And I did hear about Brady McBride winning the starting position for Texas State. Shout out to him. Big time quarterback. Seems like he can do some damage this year, so I'm looking forward to it. But back to the script. The script in my head. I'm not reading off anything. But like I said, it seems like a huge cluster F word with college football right now. It's just really confusing. And then at the same time, there's no real champion, in my opinion. There isn't, because you're missing two pieces to the puzzle. And if you don't realize it, if you've been paying attention, especially during the college football playoff era since the 2014-2015 season, the Big Ten has been a problem. They've always been a problem in the college football playoff. Heck, the first year, Ohio State upset Alabama in the first round, only to cook Oregon in the championship, right? So it's like the Big Ten's always been a problem. They've always made an appearance in the playoffs most of the time, if not the entire time. And with them not in the picture, with the Pac-12 not in the picture, how do you determine who the best team is? And you're seeing players opting out too. Like, there's been several players from LSU opting out to play. So it's like, what the heck? What is going on? So it's really hard for me to get my hopes up with college football. But as far as the NFL, though, maybe. I didn't hear anything about them planning on postponing the season, shortening the season, 17 games. But there were a lot of players that did opt out. But at the same time, there was a deadline that passed about a month ago of when they decided to opt out or not. And I noticed that decision was actually, the gap started to close a little bit faster because I'm assuming, like I said, it's all business, and the NFL wants the majority of their players to play. So, pretty scary, right? But again, I'm playing fantasy football for the second year of my life. My first year was last year, and this year will be my second year. And, I'm ready to see some football. I mean, I love sports, Sports really it gets really emotional for people. Even though you may not be a part of the team or anything, but in your mind, you're part of the team, right? In your mind, sports brings people together. It makes you, it's uplifting, right? You see your favorite player, or your favorite team, or your favorite coach do something right. It makes you want to do something right in your life, too. So I really appreciate sports in general. So I'm just hoping, because I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. We've been in this pandemic all year, and I just really hope that, according to the CDC, they're saying to be prepared for a vaccine by, November 1st? But yet again, even by then, it's still going to take a long time to distribute a bunch of doses to, everybody in this country, over 300 million people in America. And not only that, it's a global pandemic. So that means 7 billion individuals around the globe. Obviously, countries can work together, the UN, they can work together, the World Health Organization, they can work together to, create as many doses as possible. But the clock is running out, man. India's in bad shape. Obviously, America, Brazil, Russia, several others. So they got to hurry up. Because, like I said, the clock is ticking. People are still getting sick. More people are losing their jobs. So this is very serious. It's a dire situation for all of us. So 2020 has affected every single person. You're not the only one. So if you're struggling right now, you are not the only one. Everybody's struggling in their own way. Some are struggling a little bit more than others. But for everybody, I tell you this. Keep your head up like Tupac. I mean, shoot, I'm a news reporter right now. I'm not even in sports. And you guys know me. So for those that listen to me, sports is my thing. But I had to make a sacrifice. And this has nothing to do with COVID. Because I signed up to be a weekend news anchor / reporter for KSAN back in what? I got offered the position in November 2019, and I signed with KSAN, right? And I decided to accept the offer. That's what I meant. I accepted the offer. My first day was on December 2nd, 2019. I've been here ever since. So I've been here for 9 months now. And COVID didn't really strike us until mid-March. So those first 3 months, my first 90 days was just, things were relatively normal. And I was doing news. I'm still doing news to this day. But that's not going to stop me from becoming a sports reporter. That's my ultimate goal. I had to make the sacrifice. I'm just blessed and proud of myself to get my foot in the door. I mean, I may not want to be a news reporter, but I'm doing what I can to eventually become a sports reporter. And again, I'm late to the game too. I didn't truly know what I want to do. I truly did not. It's not coming out right. I truly did not know what I want to do. Well, here I said it again. So I was unsure of myself, right? I was a lost soul for a while. And time just kept passing. So if you're depressed, the clock is going to tick no matter what. Time waits for no one. And I mean, in the back of my mind, I kind of wanted to be a sports reporter. Like when I was in high school, I always wanted to play football. I wanted to go to the NFL. That was my dream. I wanted to be like my dad, play college ball, be a superstar, eventually go to the league. Now, my dad did not make it to the league. He was maybe a baby step away, but I wanted to fulfill that and actually make it to the league. That was my ultimate goal from the time I was in first grade all the way until 2016. And it's like, it didn't happen, right? And I had to come up with plan B. My father taught me, and my mother too. They taught me to come up with a plan B. My plan B was to become a sports reporter, but I wasn't really confident in myself over the years, right? I isolated myself from, my peers, my friends. I took a 3-year hiatus from Twitter and Instagram from years 2015 to 2018. I only stuck with Snapchat all those years, only to, resurrect my accounts. Well, I deleted those accounts permanently, and I had to create new accounts in 2017. And I didn't really become active on social media until, 2019. So I'm still, like I said, I'm late to the game. I'm late to this Instagram, Twitter stuff. I mean, I did have it in the distant past, but as far as recent years, I've been, behind. So that's why I'm still, trying to build my following on Twitter. I'm trying to build my following on Instagram. I'm not a tryhard, obviously. I'm just letting it happen naturally. But like I said, I'm behind times when it comes to that. So I may know a lot of people, but I might not at the same time because my circle's always been small. So I kind of feel isolated in a way, but not really because apparently a lot of people know me, but it's just a weird situation as a whole. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I'm just letting it out. But there it is. So again, I'm just trying to say that we're all basically battling ourselves mentally. And some people physically, some people are sick, some people lost their jobs, some people lost their loved ones, their friends, peers, coworkers, former coworkers, right? So it's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I just wanted to tell you guys that I appreciate you listening to this podcast, first of all. This is episode 100, by the way. I'm surprised I didn't even mention that at the beginning, but this is episode 100. And I just really appreciate that, you guys that have been paying attention to my journey. And I hope to be a public figure one of these days, especially as a sports reporter. I hope to make a difference in this world. Even though, like I said, I don't really socialize with that many people, to be honest with you. But if I do, I try to be, I'm just being myself. I'm not going to be fake or anything like that. And I just really hope to help people, inspire somebody, inspire some kids, the next generation. So my goal is to hold on to this podcast as long as possible. Hopefully I can keep it, for the rest of my life and, document it so I can go back and listen to it for memories, right? I'll be nostalgic about it, reminisce about the times when I was going through what I was going through at the time, right? And so for you future podcasters or future sports reporters, aspiring sports journalists out there, like I said, I'm recording this on September 3rd, 2020. So whoever comes across this in the near future or the distant future, I'm going to tell you this. If you truly want to be a sports reporter, do it. Do whatever you can to get there. Obviously, don't do anything illegal, but do whatever you can legally to get there. And if that requires doing news temporarily, do it. Whether it's 6 months or maybe 2-3 years, do it. You know why? Because if you don't do it, if you shy away from it, that means you truly don't want to do it. Or not only that, but you'll also have that what if thought in your head. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. I decided to take the risk to get into news. Even though I don't want to do it, I decided to take that risk to do it. And here I am 9 months later. I'm surprised I even lasted 9 months, but I'm busting my tail every day, and I'm trying what I can. And I really appreciate the sports reporters that I work with. Like, for example, Ryan Reynolds, Matt Locke, Jaden Hart, Rachel Turnock, that crew of 4. They are really nice, genuine people. They're hard workers. I'm learning a lot from these people. They're the ones that they're teaching me the learning ropes, as a matter of fact. I'm blessed to say that I'm helping them out on Fridays for high school football in Texas. And they're all 4 of them. They're talented individuals, great, genuine people. Like I said, they seem like they've been on the social media game a little bit longer than me, but who knows, right? I appreciate what they do, and I appreciate what my coworkers do. There's also the coworkers that work on the news side. I appreciate all of them. Like, everybody's working hard, and that's just a small gap. But there's plenty of news / sports reporters out there in this country, out in this world. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are all hard workers. All right, you guys put yourself in this position for a reason, and it's not easy. It's not easy because we're stating facts out there. It's not easy to do this every day. So, and just in general, it's not easy to go through 2020. Again, I'm getting a little deep with this, but again, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this podcast. I know I talked about my Thunder losing. I talked about the NBA, some NFL, college football news. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This was episode 100, and episode 101 will be out really soon. If not this week, then next week for sure. Check it out, and you guys have a great day.